Hi, YouTubers United listeners. Will here. This episode was recorded in two sections, 1 week apart from each other. It's my fault, and you'll hear it towards the end of the first segment as to what happened. The title is a clue to that, by the way. Anyways, as you're listening, just keep in mind that if there's like some sort of weird change in the sound or if the time seems like out of whack, it's because one segment was recorded a week before. Enjoy the episode. Tristan, I'm really frustrated.
What kind of frustrated?
All sorts of frustrated. I put it on the agenda. I know that our union who are listening right now can't see the agenda, but I wrote letter A, top of the show, Will's Angry Week. And it's because this week has been frustrating for me in many ways. I've found some solutions to my frustration, so it hasn't been a total disaster, but there was lots of red faces and anger. So I was hoping we could talk about that just to get started.
Yeah, we're going to talk a bit about Will's frustration. I just want to tell you guys out there, Will, I always suggested that he uses Google Docs to send me the agenda, but he insists that every week he writes it in a 1990s Trapper Keeper and mails it to me, FedEx, like Express, like 24-hour, and it arrives here in Canada just in time to do the show every week. It's a grotesque waste of money.
It's totally practical, and you're 100% wrong on that. Trapper keepers are epic, and the best part is that, Google is not secure. We found out this week that the CIA can read Google Docs, whereas Trapper Keeper, unless you know the password, I heart YouTube, oh no, you can't read it. But we're going to change the password now.
Google, the people who design the algorithm, are after our YouTube secrets.
They're after us. We can't let them have it. So, in case you do not know, if this is your first time and you're like, what are these guys talking about? This is the podcast called YouTubers United, the podcast by growing YouTubers for growing YouTubers. Tristan and I are not YouTube experts, just two guys who upload videos who are trying to be better at what we do. And we're trying, by being better, to help you be better by talking about it on a more or less weekly basis here on the podcast. So, thank you for being with us. And for those of you who don't know as well, I have my channel Political Junkie, and I have taken this month to do pretty much nothing but YouTube. I've come with my wife to Madrid, Spain, and I've been taking days to just sit in the sun, read, and animate, which is becoming, as we're going to get into, pretty difficult. So here's what happened, Tristan.
Tell me, Billy the Fox.
Oh, God. Here we go. I uploaded a video a couple weeks ago about the Russian Revolution, and it came at an interesting time because my channel was growing a lot over the holiday season, and part of that was because of one big video that I had. And of course, we always talk about on this podcast that the trickle comes back, and the trickle has been slowly coming back for me, and it hasn't led to any panic on my part, but just general frustration. So the number of views per day has been just generally declining. And so I uploaded my Russian Revolution video. I put my heart into it, and it wasn't getting the views that I wanted, which in and of itself is not the most dramatic thing. However, because my channel's been on a general decline, it obviously led to frustration when it didn't get bigger. And I chalked it up to not uploading enough. And I do think that not uploading enough, not uploading often enough is part of the problem for my channel at the moment. The YouTube algorithm wants, who knows exactly what the number is, but once a day, once every few days, once a week, something consistent, which I'm not providing. And as you know, my focus has been on trying to produce something super quality and not worry about it. But I've been reconsidering that because of this most recent upload. However, that Russia video, I was targeting the keyword Russian Revolution. And after the video kind of was a dud, I went back and I looked at what was ranking for Russian Revolution, and I had made the video with the first few search results. So if anyone searches YouTube for Russian Revolution, I was well aware of those videos when I made the video, and kind of made my video to be different than theirs in a very specific way. And what I noticed a few days ago, which led me to do something disastrous, or at least a little bit crazy, was I noticed that my video was leading to a much longer watch time than the top ranking videos for Russian Revolution. My video is leading to 11-minute watch time, something like that, a little bit over 11 minutes. And I know that the top ranking videos are getting way less than half of that, or way less than half of that at times. So there's a couple of things. Number one, if they're getting longer watch times, then, or if they're getting shorter watch times, they could be getting longer session times. So that's not necessarily it in and of itself. But I think that I think my video, which now is ranking way at the bottom of the first page, is inappropriately ranked. And I want it to rank. I don't need to be number one, but I think I should be ranking higher. And so I realized it wasn't them, it was me that I've made some sort of dramatic mistake with the title, I think. My original title for the video was "The Russian Revolution Was Not Communist." And I think that may have given the impression that I was coming at the topic from like a political angle rather than what I wanted to express, which is like a deep historical analysis. And I think I made a mistake in going for the clickbait title rather than focusing on the SEO title, which would just be Russian Revolution, right? The Russian Revolution of 1917 specifically. And so a few days ago, I did something crazy, and I just, in the middle, a week after uploading a video, I changed the title completely, and I changed the thumbnail. So, Tristan, before I go any further, what do you think of doing that? Like, changing a title and a thumbnail, have you ever done it before, and has it been dramatic for your channel? Have you ever benefited or been hurt by doing something like that?
So, actually, I've been experimenting with this a little bit over the last month or so, and so I do have a little bit that I can tell you about. And that is, sometimes it works, and I've been told, through the experts, the Schmoyers, the Eveses, the Blakeses, and such, that there's actually some value in doing this. You want to make sure that your video ranks on search. So we've been throwing out a ton of kind of jargony stuff here. So what Will is talking about here, what Billy F is saying here,
Jesus
is I know that there's two types of Wills in the world. The ones who don't mind being called Bill, and the people who really hate when you call them Bill.
Well, Bill is my father, so yeah, I know it sounds really corny, right? Like what two rednecks from Texas, one's Bill and one's Will, but yeah, that's really how it worked out in my family.
I'm William J. Fox II.
Hey, wow, interesting. Okay.
So I've been trying to figure out maybe what's going on with my underperforming videos, and I decided that if a video is old enough, especially from earlier on in my channel when things were a little more basic, or when I didn't really know what I was doing, I've started to go through those and change things up. So updating my thumbnails, updating my titles, and I've seen an increase, not a meteoric one, but about a 4% increase over the average growth of the channel, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
To make a video, because the thing is, when you get into making YouTube videos and you really get into the strategy of which video topics to cover, I just want to kind of talk to the audience about some of the stuff that you are doing, because you brushed through a lot of story real fast.
Yeah, I did.
One of the things that a lot of YouTubers, successful YouTubers, do, and this is something that you can do yourself with a lot of really basic tools, is target keywords. So what Will was doing with his Russian Revolution videos, he was trying to hit a very specific search term. And that is a search term that, probably through research that he did before he even started his video, that had a lot of volume and probably a decent amount of competition, which meant that it would be a video, it'd be a search that if you were to rank high on it, it would be a large source of incoming views.
That's good that you explained that, and that's exactly why. Because I've targeted, when I first started, I targeted keywords that did not have a lot of competition. But now that I've got a little bit of a subscriber base, I decided to go out on a limb here and target something that did have a lot of competition. And so what we mean by competition is, if you look for a certain search term, how many channels that have authority, how many channels that are uploading content of this nature also have made videos on this exact topic. In the case of the Russian Revolution video, there were already some big players who had uploaded content. And I mean, there was so much competition that someone who's very established, Alternate History Hub, ranks about halfway down the page, right? Where someone like him with so much authority would usually rank first or second, even if it wasn't exactly the keyword that was typed in at the top of YouTube. So that's how competitive this was. So I shouldn't be that surprised that I didn't get there. But we'll go into more details. But thank you for making that clarification. That's really important for people listening.
Yes, there's there's a list. So every search term, I think the first page is usually about 20 entries. You want to get yourself as high on that as possible. And this is why if you're a smaller YouTuber, you want to be finding search terms that are searched often enough, but are not as competitive. And what this will do is this will be you targeting a video that more or less doesn't get a ton of traffic, but has a long tail. This is kind of where I go. And while we're on that, when I'm doing keyword research, I should say directly to one member of the audience if he's listening. Keith Hughes. Do you know this person?
Keith Hughes. Is that the guy from, is that, oh, no. Wait, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, my computer wanted to go to sleep or something. That was goofy. Sorry, is that Hip Hughes History?
I think so. Keith Hughes. Why you taking all my keywords?
Oh, uh-oh.
He's not actually taking them, but every time I go to do a video idea, I'm like, oh, Keith Hughes is like the Simpsons of YouTube. He's already done it.
Dude, that guy, I've actually experienced that myself. I've experienced that with Keith Hughes, and I've experienced that with D-News or Secret Daily, I guess they're calling themselves now. It's like they obviously, like, they've done their keyword research, and they're really good at it. This isn't, like, I don't think either of us are ripping on them at all. They've done their homework, and they've ranked for a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so like what happens, I actually, when I like go to scout out what kind of keywords I'm wanting to hit for the video, I think that if I get something that's reasonably, like because I'm doing history topics, it's reasonably less off the main path, that I can usually get a keyword, maybe not the main keyword, like, you know, I couldn't hit Russian Revolution, but maybe something just to the side of that. But there are a lot of keywords where, say, a video, a channel like Secret Daily, which is, it is a kind of news and politics and history channel run by Discovery, like the Discovery Channel, where they just put out ridiculous amounts of videos and they kind of just hit every single search term they can think of.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to do this yourself, look, depending upon what kind of video you want to do, you want to find a keyword that you can try to rank for, which means that it'll show up in your title, it'll show up in your tags, it'll show up in your script, and will show up in the description. And that way, you know, you can push it up. And if you try to hit one that maybe has big channels in them, but the big channels aren't targeting it specifically, then you actually have a chance to rank up alongside these people. Like, if you remember last week in our interview with Ines, she had a video ranked somewhere between Vsauce and Veritasium, which was pretty impressive.
Speaking of which, Ines, once again, thank you for coming on the show last week. And anybody who's listening who did not hear the show last week should definitely go check it out. There's a lot of insight and interesting stuff that we learned, including, I think, a topic for the future that a couple of people, I think Cogito, I think you're from Uruguay. I think I saw that in your About section. Cogito said, you know, he's interested in subtitles in different languages. So I think that's something we're going to talk about based on that interview. Sorry, continue. You can rank as a smaller channel if you do SEO correctly. Absolutely.
So I think so like completely go back to the questions you came out forward with. There's a few things where I think there is some hope for this video, and there are some things where you might have to cut some losses. So one, I think that there is some value in renaming and making a new thumbnail for a video if you think you can do better. And I think you've already done that.
I have, yeah.
Second of all, I know that the YouTube algorithm does put a lot of emphasis on a video's performance in the first 72 hours, which have already passed.
Yeah.
So that means that what you can do at this moment is probably not turn it into another viral video. Although that can happen because, like, as I was explaining a few episodes ago, I'm having a video take off that I made over a year ago, just because, you know, the browse features and the algorithm picking it up. But I think what you want to do is you want to optimize it for something that's really good with the topic of, like, the Russian Revolution is a long tail. So, you know, you want to show up high on those search results, maybe something to the side or, in there. You want to show up in a bunch of different Russian Revolution search results because people search that all the time.
I'm just looking right now. I can already give some live results on my experiment because you mentioned, Tristan, you can, renaming or changing the tags or switching up the thumbnail on a video that's a bit dated. And I've done that for sure. And I think that's something that people should consider doing, especially on videos that are just, they're like almost completely dead, right? If you're getting like no views per hour and no views per 24-hour period, then, well, hell, you have nothing to lose. And that's kind of where I was with this video. I wasn't getting no views per hour, but like the trickle was coming way faster than normal. And I could just tell that there was something fundamentally wrong. Like something was not working. And originally I chalked it up to my upload schedule, but then I saw like the watch time and like that people were enjoying it, and I don't think I like made some sort of masterpiece, but I think I made a video that should be ranking. We'll just put it that way. Here's some live results. I've actually moved down a little bit on the page since I did this. So the first results are negative on this. But I should tell the audience what I did. I changed the video title from what was more clickbaity. Russia's February Revolution was not communist. The Russian Revolution Part 1. I changed that title and I just put the keyword purely at the beginning. The Russian Revolution 1, the February Revolution. And then I changed the thumbnail, which I think was a bit dark. And I mean that in like a literal light sense. It was like one of my dark characters, a blue background, and then me. And there was no real contrast going on there. I think it had a tendency to blend in on the search page. If you look at the competition under Russian Revolution, you'll notice some of the first videos are very bright red because they're using the Soviet flag and the Soviet colors to get attention. And so I decided to add a little bit of color to mine, and I kind of just did it in a really improvised way of adding a few layers behind my character of red to try to make him stick out. And yeah, it was a bit improvised. Keep in mind, like I'm not perfect. I was a little bit angry, if I'm being totally honest, when I did this and when I made these decisions. I was frustrated that things weren't going my way. And part of this podcast is just about being honest and like admitting when you maybe made bad decisions. I don't know if this is a bad decision. I don't know if it could be much worse than it was. But as of right now, I don't see that this is causing any benefits, at least not in search rankings at the moment.
Yeah. So in a few things, we can talk about how to tackle this on both the emotional front and the tactical front.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the title of a video, you want it to have the keywords that you want to target in it, but also you want it to be more attractive. So maybe finding some way to put the Russian Revolution in there, but also make it seem more clickable, and maybe not include that it's a part 1 until part 2 comes out.
That's true. That might be a thing as well. Here's the thing though, is I thought about that as well. That was my original thought, was I need to make this clickable, right? And I went the clickable route, and that failed me. And I went and looked at what was ranking, and like listen to these titles of like. But by the way, these are awesome creators. I don't want to rip on anybody that I'm like technically competing with. YouTube needs more educational history videos, but I just kind of want to be in the mix here. But like, listen to these titles, like The Russian Revolution, right? The Russian Revolution 1917, The Russian Revolution documentary. Like these are The Russian Revolution explained. So generally speaking, what's ranking already are not like, I guess they're tapping into what is the history community of people who are already interested in this. And those people, I think, might not be necessarily looking for like a clickbaity title, at least not on this subject. It doesn't look like it. It looks like all the top ranking stuff are very purely, almost exclusively purely, not clickbait, SEO targeted. Yeah. Lenin and the Russian Revolution, A History of Russia, the Russian Revolution 1917. Like nothing that's ranking has anything even remotely clickbaity until you get down to Alt History Hub, halfway down the page. What if the Russian Revolution never happened? Which is, I mean, it's not clickbait, but you know what I mean. Having a more like, let's call it artistic, title to draw an attention. That doesn't even happen until later on down the page. So
I'm sure that would be a good case of them being really established channels that have baked-in audiences that'll watch whatever it is that they put up, combined with a good keyword, and that's like, I mean, that's the Seeker Daily strategy right there.
Yeah.
Use an established brand like Discovery. Find common questions that are found in search engines and then make a ton of videos covering them all, but make them short and to the point and covering like the very basics of it. And like that's the Seeker Daily method. And they can do that because
they got a team.
They can publish. They have a team. They have a lot of people, and they have a giant media corporation.
Which, by the way, there is value in that, because when they came on the scene, like Keith Hughes was kind of was like ahead of. Speaking of him, he was ahead of the curve, right? Like when it came to history videos, if you wanted to get an overview for your students as a teacher, if you were a history teacher, I mean, you could pretty much type in anything and find his content. And it was actually Seeker Daily that, like, about a year ago, when I really got onto an SEO binge, a lot of the times, like we said, you search for something and it'd be Keith Hughes and it'd be Seeker Daily, and like they were filling something. Like there is a need for explanations of things, right? So
yeah, there's someone really smart at Discovery doing that.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so that was kind of my week. That was the first half of my week, was trying to rank for this video and trying to kind of breathe life back into it as it was slowly dying. So I can say that 2 days ago, so about maybe 24 to 48 hours after I made that decision and made that change, that the video was almost like it was really, really dead. And I thought, okay, well, this was the wrong decision. And yesterday it was still really slow. Today it's a little bit, like there's a little bit of a boost, but it's still really slow. So I don't see, at this moment, we'll give an update maybe next week or the next week, but at this moment, I don't see any benefits to having done this. And I hope maybe given enough time there will be. But yeah, it was definitely an emotional decision that I made. There's a bit of logic to it. I don't necessarily regret it, but there was definitely emotion that went behind it. Just a general frustration of I've made a video, it's getting watch time. What's the problem here? What do you want, YouTube? And yeah, so that's where I was, and that's where I am.
I have three more things to mention about this. One is a suggestion, one is probably bad news, and one is good news.
Okay.
So the first thing is a suggestion. This is just specifically about the topic of your video, and that is there's a little bit of a swastika effect that goes on with the topic you're doing. The swastika effect I'm talking about is that in bookstores, there was this idea that you can actually measure an increased performance in a book's sales by having a swastika on the cover.
Oh, so this hammer and sickle is the swastika.
There's a hammer and sickle effect. I think that I have seen on my videos that there is a measured increased effect with a hammer and sickle in your thumbnail. And if you out there can find something like that, like some sort of icon that is very identifiable for the topic you're talking about, definitely try to include it, because that will be kind of a visual language.
Damn it. My wife and I sat around having a debate about whether she wanted me to add one in there. And I was like, this is already looking congested. I don't want to add another thing in here. Oh,
the only time I wouldn't add a sickle and hammer is that if you're really, really reliant on traffic from Poland, where the sickle and hammer is illegal. But the second thing, which is probably the bad news, which is I'm wondering if your one data point of the Berlin video drove you in a direction that might make people a little confused about the channel's brand.
Yeah.
You are called Political Junkies, yet in the last 4 or 5 months, every video has been about history. And I'm wondering if, they came for a discussion about politics and came to a history video and kind of clicked off, and that's what's causing the problem. But you said you had higher attention, so maybe not.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you hit on something that I've been thinking about more recently as well, is what's going on, right? Political Junkie, you expect some sort of daily, you expect secular talk or the Young Turks or something, right? Where you every day there's some sort of just a talking head giving you opinions, or maybe in a different direction, like a Caspian Report, where it's news updates, and yet you're getting history videos.
Although I should say there is probably really good room for Political Junkies, which is a channel that's not topical and news and stuff, but it's somebody who is really smart and really wonky, maybe somebody doing an advanced degree in political science who's able to dig into how politics works. That's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
good news
I
is
well just
with
to
these tags and stuff. Oh yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say just to address that real. I am like I have thought about that in the last week. That's another thing that I might have mentioned here in a second. But yeah, uh, so my next, I guess I was what's the word? Mental no, not mentalized. Justifying my history by saying, well, I'm not doing just history, but like political history, and kind of saying that focusing on things like in my last video, Stolypin, who was a member of the prime minister of Russia at that time. I do like history, and even though I rebranded Political Junkie News over a year ago, I never let history leave the branding because I always wanted that to be part of the channel. So I don't think it's totally out of character. What I do think out of character is being exclusively history for such a long period of time. And I think you're right to say that the Berlin video pushed me in that direction. Well, also the Islam video. My only two videos that have gone big have either been controversial or included, history in the title. So that was a decision that I've been making. This is something that we're going to have to talk about in the podcast going forward because my next couple videos are going to be a bit more of a mixture. I'm not leaving history. I'm definitely not leaving this style that I found. I like it a lot, but I am going to try to change it up a bit to see if to see what's not working, what can work.
Excellent. And I do have one piece of hope for this video, and that is because it's a tag that's relatively well searched and your channel is only going to grow over time because YouTube, as you have learned in this last week or two, is cruel and arbitrary, and sometimes something you put a lot of work into doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes something you put no work into goes everywhere. But one of the things is that if you are determined and keep at it, you will move in an upward direction. And this video is well targeted for a long tail.
Yeah.
And the bigger your channel gets, the higher it'll rank because people will check out all of your videos as you grow and make new content. So, maybe it wasn't the most successful video in the universe, but it's still going to be a valuable part of your catalog. Because if you think about every video like it's an investment, for example, it's a piece of intellectual property that exists from the time you make it until 70 years after you die in the United States, or 60 years here in Canada. And it continues to make you money for that entire period. So having a long tail means that, you have added one more asset to your portfolio.
And I learned a lot making that video. I did that. My animation I did some new things. I learned a lot about alpha. If anybody listening knows what I'm talking about, like alphaing layers to other layers, that was nice. 3D, a little bit of 3D. So I wouldn't say it's a loss. Yeah.
I do have one question about regularity because this is something that I've been playing with as well. So you're worried about regularity, and I know that a lot of the gurus these days are saying like you should make videos at least weekly, but every day or 3 days a week is better, which is, completely outside of what we can do with the kind of work we're doing.
Yeah.
But if you are a vlogger out there, maybe trying to integrate something that is a little bit more conversational or some sort of side content would be a good idea for growing your channel. As Ine said in the interview, people who are kind of getting on the regularity train, who get that schedule going, tend to be really successful if they can keep it up.
Yeah.
The only thing is that it's a grueling schedule.
Yeah, it is. I mean, part of the reason I came to Madrid was to pursue a grueling schedule, which is why we can now move on to my second frustration of the week, which is I have had. If that's okay, was there anything else we need to talk about with that?
No.
I appreciate you letting me vent.
This will therapy session, I think, is good podcasting.
Man, I need to come in. I need to make sure I do something positive. I think I complained about my Jackson video. Now I'm complaining about my Russian Revolution video. This is becoming the Will bitch session. You can censor that. My other thing was I wanted to get it. This regularity thing. I thought my Russian Revolution video is not doing so great. What I need to do is I need to get out another video, and I need to get it out quick. Yeah. And I was thinking that I'd get it out before, well, maybe 1 week after the Russian Revolution video was done. And I actually had a video written and ready to record at like on time. And it wasn't like the biggest masterpiece. It wasn't the longest video I've ever made, but it was a good video. And I'm in the process of producing it. However,
Nice.
I have had problems with the recording and getting video and audio to work properly. So I went and bought a what do you call it? A Tascam, like external mic recorder, and I had hooked it up with my little lavalier mic, and I'd gone out and I had tried to start recording, and I had some audio problems. Like I noticed in my nadir video, it annoyed me that when I like had to do some cuts in the audio to get rid of blank spaces, that you could hear the cuts more clearly because of all the background noise. And I had that same problem with this video, so I went and I recorded it in the closet and like did the whole blanket over the head thing and decided that I would just record one scene outside. And the what I recorded in the closet kind of sounded like it was me talking into a tin can. I don't know what the hell happened. So I had two bad takes of the video done. And then my one scene outdoors was the audio kind of freaked me out. Luckily, we got some feedback from our friends in the EDU Slack group who said that it wasn't actually that bad. So I'm actually going to end up including some outdoor footage in the video. But I don't have audio for it, even though I've recorded it twice now. So I'm going to have to record it again, I guess, tomorrow. And yeah, that's just a general frustration. It's like I'm putting in the hours, I'm putting in the work, and I had a video ready to go, and I've just kind of gotten chopped down by the constraints of being somewhere different and trying something new. And so that was just another like, I'm having a good time here in Madrid. I'm enjoying doing this as like I'm enjoying putting the hours into it. But man, that was like, this has just been a frustrating week between the Russia video and then like the audio. It's just been like, what a way to kick this off, It's just been wild.
Yeah, those do sound like startup costs. So, and that once you get this figured out, then it's kind of it'll be fine from then on out.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. I really do. And we'll see. I'm actually pretty optimistic. I'm being productive. I'm not having like it's not a matter of like, can I motivate myself to work and to put in the hours? At this point, it's just like a practical problem. So I'm hoping if everyone will know, we'll publish this podcast on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. If you see a video from me on the 15th, you'll know that I've had success in my experiment. If it doesn't come, then you'll know that there's been a disaster somewhere along the line of production.
Great success.
Woo!
And, this is a learning process, and then once you get it going, the next video should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, my frustration is that I can't even get to my YouTube stuff these days because I'm too busy doing
Life?
a crap ton of
Is it
essays
life?
for... Yeah, marking and writing dissertation proposals and comprehensive examinations and it's a whole thing.
Tristan, we have a technical difficulty.
Oh no.
This has to go on air. This is funny. So my wife wants to go get churros. If anybody doesn't know what churros are, they're like these long donuts, and the Spaniards do it best. After a long night out in the discos, you go at like 6 or 7 in the morning, get churros and chocolate. And my wife said she would call me when it was time for me to leave to go get churros with her and her brother, and she's just called. So I'm not going to do that right at this moment. How long have we been? Oh my God, we've been talking for 30 minutes, Tristan.
Yeah. 1 week later. Oh man. We're post churros now.
We're post churros. Hey, you're not gonna believe this. So we went out to the churros restaurant. I've never seen that. It's a place. If you're ever in Madrid, you have to go, called San Ginés. It's a chocolateria, and they serve the best churros and chocolate. We didn't have any. It was way, way, way too crowded. So we went to another place and got just like normal food. Anyway, so we're back a week later. It's my fault that we had to take a little bit of time to record this episode, a little bit of extra time. But the good news about that is I can give an update to the conversation that we were just wrapping up when that got cut off. So in terms of my next video, which was supposed to be out on the 15th, I have good and bad news. The bad news is the video isn't up, but the good news is it wasn't because of like a lack of productivity or like some weird thing. It's because I was inspired to make another video. Like this is already kind of like a side video of a side video, and now I've made a third side video. It involved me traveling to a town outside of Madrid called Toledo and actually doing some like live filming there. So I ended up taking a pause, writing, and actually physically going to a place and doing some filming. So that'll be something we can probably talk about in the future. In terms of changing title and tags, which I think was the main topic of our conversation last week, I can tell you that after another solid week of seeing stats that it has not resulted in anything positive. So the video continued its downward climb. It's gone down in the search rankings in the term I was looking for, Russian Revolution, and it's still being outranked, for example, by a video from an Indian guy who put his title in English, but the video itself is not in English. It's in one of the many beautiful languages of India. And another video that's more recently come out called Jews Boast About Russian Revolution. So I'm being drowned out by a non-English speaking video and an anti-Semite. So yeah, no improvement there. That's the moral of this exact anecdote, this one example that I have.
Well, they can't all be home runs.
They can't all be home runs. Tristan, how was your week of pause since we last were speaking?
This is probably, so I changed up the kind of way that I do my tasks every so often.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, in the last week, I decided that like, I think I was losing too much time by switching off of tasks. If that makes sense.
Are we talking about like just like stuff in your life to do? Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I always like was trying to do like, piecemeal everyday type work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that I should probably just do all of one thing and then all of another, etc., etc. And so this has been like the least YouTube-y week I've had in quite a while. I've been answering comments. I've been running the A/B test feature on TubeBuddy, which we'll talk about in probably next week. And so, I haven't really been making a lot of progress on videos just because I've been marking and writing some super important papers for the PhD. But I did have one thought that came up, and this is something that I wanted to toss at you as a new way of setting up the content on Step Back so that it is more regular and doesn't sacrifice content quality.
Go on.
So a month is roughly 4 weeks, right? As far as I know.
Is this a quiz? Yeah, it's about 4 weeks.
So what I'm planning on doing is kind of having a 4-week rotation. And the first thing that this involves is introducing live video into my videos.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of closer to the format that you go with the mix of face video and animation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that if I do that, I can actually take away a good chunk of animation time, which I could apply to other things, and I could do a lot of more blocking. So my plan is to do 4 videos a month, and the plan is to do one like big step back video that's still like 12 to 16 minutes long, and is the same type of video that everyone comes to expect.
Mm-hmm.
The week before that, I plan on having, and this is going to be like on the last week of the month. The week before that, I plan on having a Step Back mini.
Mm-hmm.
The week after the video, after I do a video, I plan on doing like a live stream where I just kind of talk to the audience. Once a month, do a live stream where I talk to the audience for a few hours and just, talk about stuff, have a good interaction, maybe have guests on, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And take like a good clip from that and release it like the week after the video comes out or the big Step Back video comes out.
Right on.
And then 2 weeks later, do something kind of like what I talked about with Idea Channel, where you do a comment response video. And this would be where you highlight good comments or insightful comments, answer common questions, and maybe, put in corrections and retractions and things like that. And so what would happen is in a month, you'd start with the stream highlight. Second thing would be the comment response video. Then I'd have a step back mini, which would be a 2 or 3 minute kind of more general video that I would do alongside the regular step back video. It'd be related topic wise, but it'd be something that's more for someone who's Googling a homework question, or something that's more like targeted to a very general search result.
Mm-hmm.
And then finish the month with like the big step back prime.
So just to be clear about what you're saying, so you'd have your miniature video related to a bigger topic, which would then come out. So you'd have the big little like miniature video that sounds like SEO focused, a big video which sounds like it's kind of aimed at being viral. You'd have a live stream, and you'd have a community-based video about like responding to comments or making corrections. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah. The stream would not be saved on the channel. It would not be syndicated, but I'll make a second channel where you could watch the whole stream, but I'll take like a 10 or 15 minute clip from it and release that as a video.
And what is the difference between the stream and the comment response videos? So like, what are you doing on the stream that's different from like interacting with your community in the other way that you're talking about?
The stream is more of an opportunity for me to not so much respond about a specific video, but just talk to the audience, talk about things like things going on in either the news, or have guests on, or kind of like go into something else with the audience. While the comment response video is not so much a stream as it is me highlighting stuff the community's made.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more like stuff with like, insightful things, tidbits that got missed, retractions, things like that. So one is me talking to the audience, and one is the audience like showcasing what the audience has said.
Right. Sorry if you hear that background noise, I'm in a squeaky chair. Yeah, I think that I like the idea of keeping the rotation, and I think it's logical to set it up in a week by week basis, like you're doing, month by month, break it down into 4 pieces. You're getting out a piece of content every 7 days. I question splitting up the live stream, like splitting the live stream over to the comments, even though I see the purpose, right? You're trying to put an extra week of content out, and you're trying to focus that one more on the community. It seems strange that maybe you're taking what would be like half of your time, right? If you're a loyal viewer and you're coming back to the channel every week, then half of the time you're coming back to the channel not for history videos necessarily, but just for like general community and or current event content. So that would be my question about it.
Well, I still hope to keep the stream history focused. Like what happened was I did a New Year's Day stream that went really well. And what happened was I ended up getting a lot of questions that were history adjacent, and just kind of having a really interesting conversation with a bunch of my subscribers.
Right.
And that's great. But I would also like if I could highlight some of the really great comments that I get in a video. And this, I could block the shooting with the shooting for the step back videos too.
So I think you're super confident about this, or you seem very like dedicated to it. And I like, generally speaking, of course, I can sit back like I just did and kind of like snipe and be like, what is this? Why are you doing that? However, I fundamentally don't see any issues with this. I think it's a decent plan. What I think we should do, though, for the sake of our audience here listening, and for you, of course, to see if it's working or not, is kind of treat this as one giant A/B test. I don't have really the vocabulary to describe what I'm thinking of here, but so you take your watch time now, your views now, and I don't know, how long do you think an appropriate test would be to see if this is a functional thing? Like 3 months, like 3 months of doing this consistently, 4 months, to see if there's growth. Obviously there will be an increase in watch time over the last month or so.
To see if there's an acceleration.
Yeah.
So I don't plan on actually starting this until probably June.
Okay.
because I still have there's a few things that are happening in my life over the next few months, but basically in the next month and a bit, I'm basically getting to a point in my PhD where they cut you loose and say, all right, now go write a book. Which means that my time is much more my own, if that makes sense, and I have less firm deadlines.
Yes.
Also, summer is coming, so my teaching duties are going to be put aside, so I'll have a lot more time at home where I can put my videos aside with this. Also, I think with blocking that I won't be spending that much more time. Like, the reduced animation and the block filming won't result in much more time dedicated to the channel. And I think that I could, with film, open up some more interesting ideas and kind of shake things up, which I think Step Back needs, because I feel like, I can only get so far with what I'm doing in my format, and I have some really cool new ideas that I'd really like to try. But I could run it over the summer. I could run the test over the summer and see how that turns out.
I was going to say we should definitely run this test and see how it goes. I'll just add to the animating, saving time thing. You will save a bit of time, but I can tell you that like it is like if we're taking each second of a video and giving it an amount of time that it takes to do it, right? The simplest is of course when you have an image and only an image on the screen. At that point, it maybe took you 60 seconds or 5 minutes to find like the Wikipedia public domain image, and you put it in After Effects or wherever you are, Premiere Pro, Sony Vegas, and you told the program to either zoom in or zoom out and how long you wanted it on the screen. Right? That's the simplest way to fill time if we're talking about second per second in a video. Animation of like a scene with multiple assets and multiple layers obviously takes the longest time. However, there between, I would say actually setting up a camera and filming yourself actually does take more time than you might expect. And you can tell us all about what your experiences are when you start to do it. I can just say in my experience that because, especially now that I've been doing some filming outside of the house and away from that like more controlled environment that I was able to set up, every time there's a lot of back and forth and there's a lot of extra time that goes into finding a spot, getting the lighting right, recording the lines. There's still lots and lots of time involved. And I would say that, for example, in the video that's going to be published around the time of this podcast being published that I've got, where I did some live filming outside in a park, that I ended up going to that location 2 or 3 times before I actually filmed there. The first time I went and scouted out a spot. The second time I went and tried to film and failed because I was all on my own. And the third time I actually went with my wife and did the filming. So that took a lot of time. And even my home studio, the first couple times I used it, also it took time to get accustomed to that, or to get the sound right, or refilming things when the lighting changed on accident because the sun was coming in the window. So I understand you're wanting to save time. I can tell you that there will be an initial investment cost, and every time you change location, that initial investment cost will come back. It is a good idea. I'm not trying to discourage you from it, but I am going to just tell you honestly that there is a price to pay for whatever. I don't exactly know what the time saved is, but it's not like a magic bullet to save you a lot of production time.
I agree. I think that there's going to be a lot of a setup. That's why I'm waiting until June.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it will let me do some stuff. The reason I want to do this as well is because I can then block make content. Like, if I'm doing the shooting, then I can do the comment response video, which doesn't require, like, once things are set up, that's not something that requires a whole lot of like script writing and pre-production, while like I'm doing this stuff as well, if that makes sense.
Are you gonna use a teleprompter, do you think?
That's a good question. Right now I have like all of the kind of technology I want to buy, and the plan is, as I get more and more money to put towards this equipment, it'll get better. And a teleprompter is kind of one of the last things on my list to buy.
Mm-hmm. Same here. I am still considering trying to work one into my schedule. But it's tough. I think we talked a little bit about that with the Nest, so we don't have to hang on the teleprompter necessarily. But it was, I did build one, and it was difficult. However, if we're talking about saving time and making your production schedule more efficient as you are, then a teleprompter would be a way to, because filming can take a while, especially if you do it like I do, where I actually just memorize the lines and then spit them out 10, 20 times until it sounds good, and I'm looking at the camera and I got everything the way I want it, and then move on. That can be a long process. Actually, yeah, I could film.
My plan is hopefully to film in the middle of the month and have like just one day that I usually don't do a lot anyway, like say Sunday after we do this show, and just do like all the lines that I need to do for the step back video and the step back mini and the comment response video, and then like go on from there.
I'm looking right now. Let's see. March. How can I change this year? Let's see. How much time did I spend on just filming that last video? Where did it go? Editing FG. Where did the F? Okay, I guess I didn't. Hold on. I guess we can cut out this boring part of me looking through my thing. Oh man. Okay, I don't have it. I thought I had the data for my Russian Revolution video in terms of filming, but I do not, so we'll just forget that. Anyway, would we like to talk a little bit about the first 10 seconds of a YouTube video and how to optimize those?
Sure.
Excellent. So we brushed on this subject just a little bit a couple weeks ago. My first week in Spain, we were talking about optimizing the first 10 seconds of a video as a tangent to something else, and we thought we would do an actual segment on it because it is super important. I can tell you why I think it's important, but I'll let you start, Tristan. Why do you think it's important to optimize that first 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds of a video?
Well, there is some evidence to show that that is roughly the amount of time that a viewer, 10 seconds is about the time that a viewer decides whether or not they're going to watch a video. So you need to really convince a viewer to watch that right away, or else you're going to have really bad retention. Or at least your retention's not going to be as high as it could be.
Yeah.
The other thing is that this period, if you close caption your videos, which you should be doing, it is also important for algorithm love, because the closed captioning is looked at by Google's spiders, and so the keywords that you say are super important, like in the first few seconds. So you want to really be able to express why this video is important, what you can do,
No, just to buttress your point, because you're totally right. When it comes to audience retention, what I've noticed, just in general, is that assuming I do nothing catastrophic in the rest of my video, so let's say, like, I don't, mess up animation or have a black screen with no sound, as long as there's nothing disastrous in the video, after there's been an initial fall off at the beginning, the audience retention for almost all of my videos, as far as I know, every video I've made in the last year or so, has just been a steady decline. Nothing dramatic. And so my goal, and what I think that might be the case for most creators, at that point, your only conclusion can be the less people you lose at the beginning, if after that you have that steady decrease, then overall your retention will be higher. So if 5% leave at the beginning, which is really good, then you might end up having an overall longer watch time or audience retention as compared to 25% of people drop off at the beginning. I don't know, just in my personal experience, I don't see a lot of drop-offs until the end. I only have a very steady audience retention. I think most people in our genre with animated videos will experience a similar phenomenon.
Yeah, so there's a few beats you want to hit in the first 10 seconds of a script. The first one is you want to be able to do something enticing. So you want to lay out some questions, things that you are going to answer. So set up a mystery or what kind of the value proposition of your video is going to be. Get a bunch of the keywords into this part of the speech, and also give a reason for them to watch it until the end.
Mm-hmm.
So you set up a value proposition, what's going to happen this week? Or, ask a question, like a provocative question to get people started.
Mm-hmm.
Then tell them, if you watch to the end of this video, you'll be able to find out the answer to that.
Oh man, yeah, I have to say that's good. That's like sometimes people do that very directly, and that annoys me just a little bit because it's so blatant. Like, here's a video.
It works.
If you watch until the end, I promise. And you're like, ah. But yes, it does work. It does work. It's very, very transparent and does work. Any way that you can mask that, I guess is better. But anyway, you were correct though. Establishing the value of a video, and we talked a little bit about audience retention. We're kind of framing this all in terms of audience retention, but it can also establish just a general mood or your professional credibility, or if you're selling a product, it can establish the value of the product. So you'll find a lot of creators, especially in the how-to and the technology sphere, they start off a video by saying, this is television, TV, I don't know. And here we are experts in television and can find you an amazing television. And by setting up that in the first 10 seconds, they're establishing their rapport with you and their credibility as a expert in their field. And so depending on what your goal is for a video, if it's not just retention, but also to sell something perhaps, then that can also be something you want to put towards the front, so people aren't listening to you give information without knowing who you actually are or why what you have to say is important.
Yes, and keep in mind, I know this, you'll see this and you'll kind of roll your eyes because it's starting to become more and more common to kind of get that first 10 seconds to be really action-packed. But there's a reason for this. And I think that as I've been studying a lot of media studies in a little bit, so you'll have to deal with me on this one. But there are certain like norms of formats. And YouTube is still kind of in this open world where we haven't really figured out what the rules of YouTube are. And we're starting to figure out what are the kinds of ways that you can set up something so that you can maximize whatever it is, like a retention, watch time, all of those things. So like these kinds of actions start to develop what the genre of YouTube is going to be, because it's a new genre of cinema. And just like how we don't roll our eyes when we see commercials in front of movies, or we don't get confused when a television show goes for a commercial break, we are just kind of going to be getting
like more accustomed to this, like YouTube, the status quo of introducing yourself and having your little Twitter icon fly across the screen. I know what you're trying to say. What are the norms in this world that we're living in right now, in this ecosystem? I think you can be flexible with it, but yeah, you are right, and I think those things are not to be seen as a negative. Of course, there will always be that minority of people who they're like, well, you introduced yourself and your value at the beginning of your video, so therefore I hate you. But I don't think that is in any way close to being a majority of people who will sit down and click on a YouTube video. If you have the information, if you have the story, people are going to stick around regardless of whether you introduce yourself or do something a little bit cliche in the first 10 seconds. That being said, another thing that you can do is just jump right into it. And honestly, that's in more recent times, that's kind of what my approach has been, is not to wait around to tell people, here's what I'm going to give you in this video, but just to encapsulate them as quickly as possible. So don't jump straight into the story. An example, I'll use actually a television example because I just happened to be watching this a week ago, was Black Mirror. Everyone's always told me I need to check it out, and I was wondering why it was so captivating. And the first episode that someone showed me, the very first thing on the screen was a close-up of a woman crying. And just I was trying to be a neutral observer and just say, why am I so captivated all of a sudden? And obviously because they haven't wasted my time with credits. They haven't wasted my time with like the stereotypical 90s movie American Neighborhood and happy music. They've just jumped straight into the story. I think that can also be true in YouTube. You can just jump straight into your video and just jump straight into your content. And assuming the title was well written, people already know what the value is they're looking for, then that's not necessarily a bad thing if you captivate them right from the get-go.
Yeah, and it depends upon the kind of content you're making. And yeah, you have a lot of artistic license. But I would say there's a few things you should watch out for, and that is, don't be fooled by people's successes, especially on really big and older channels. Like, for example, you might want to think that you can just jump in by saying something super simple, like with Vsauce, where he just says, Vsauce, Michael here, and then the video starts. What we need to know is that unless you are an established brand, see, this isn't like advice for more when you're trying to establish yourself as a channel, when you're trying to entice new viewers and you're trying to really hit those ranked search engines. If you're a channel that can basically just grow because everything you make gets hundreds of thousands or millions of views, then you have a lot more ability to, play with these conventions. But if you think about your video from the perspective of a non-subscriber, which in the first 10 seconds you really should, because your subscribers will wait out the first 10 seconds. It's the people coming in from the street, right, that are the ones who will click off. And so you really have to realize that the first 10, 15 seconds are for them.
Maybe.
To get them, to convince them to stick on.
I might disagree a little bit. I feel like I don't like the idea. First of all, I understand that sometimes on this podcast we give the advice of like, if you're a smaller creator, you need to be like focusing on search engines because that's where your traffic's going to come from. While I do think that that's good advice, I don't know if I agree that like you have to wait until you're bigger to take some sort of artistic license in that way. I mean, if a video has encapsulated my attention and I've ended up watching it, it's at the end when I'm more interested in like, okay, who was this and what, like I almost never will subscribe to a channel or become super interested based on what they tell me in the first 10 or 15 seconds, if that makes any sense. I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from like breaking what we're calling the norms now, if they're not big, if they're not a big yet established YouTuber.
I mean, you can totally do it. It's just that you have to acknowledge that you're making a trade-off and you're trading retention for artistic license, which, I've done, you do, everybody makes that decision sometimes. But if you want to play it completely safe and go entirely by best practices, this is something that you should consider.
Another really interesting strategy that I've seen, and it's kind of like a third route, is actually putting negative space in the beginning of a YouTube video. So what we both kind of just described are two different strategies, but they both involve giving people input very directly and very quickly. So in the more what we're calling the archetypal way to do this nowadays on YouTube, by introducing yourself and pitching value, you're immediately engaging your audience right to their face and telling them what they need and what they want, or at least telling them you're going to deliver them what they need and what they want. The other option, of course, jumping straight into it, is like not giving people time to think and just drawing their attention in as fast as you can. A third way, which we didn't mention yet, is the YouTubers who actually use negative space, a lack of anything, or at least a lack of like direct attention grabbing. My immediate thought goes to the Nerd Writer, who just has a bumper 2 or 3 seconds at the beginning of a video where he says nothing. He just has his logo. That, in theory, right, should be a disaster for his audience retention. I'm assuming because he's established it doesn't have any consequences anymore. But I wonder if by creating a negative space, by giving people the exact opposite of what they expect on YouTube, which is loud and attention grabbing from the get-go, by providing them with negative space, it almost grabs their attention more by denying their expectations. Just a third option to consider.
And there's a lot to say about the Nerd Writer. I think that I've looked over his channel quite a bit because he's very successful, but I'm wondering whether or not he is a good case for emulation, because he came to his channel with a pre-built popularity by being on the test tube network for quite a while. And then he came into YouTube with like that pre-made audience, which is like the best thing you could possibly do to start a YouTube channel. But he does miss a lot of best practices stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you notice, his videos don't have descriptions.
No. I think we should have a whole discussion about him, because I think I've had this in our list of like topics for a while. I have like a conspiracy theory when it comes to those channels. Like, I don't know about the Nerd Writer. I think he puts out a video every week, and a well-edited video. It could be that he's absolutely brilliant and just works his ass off and just makes amazing, well-edited videos every week. But I have a hunch that despite the fact that at the end of every video he talks with the camera in a like direct, personal way, kind of gives off this like I'm doing it all by myself vibe, I have a feeling he has a staff of people, or at least a team of freelancers that help him out in his videos. But I couldn't prove that. So there's a couple things about the Nerd Writer. Like, it gives off that very individual indie feel. But you're right, he was established before, and it feels like maybe there's, even though it looks like one person, that might be a team. Nonetheless, I do like the way they start the video. I do appreciate that negative space, and I was just presenting it as like a alternative on how you might kick off a video.
Yeah, actually, kind of like on the opposite end, what I like the Nerd Writer for, and I think that this is something he started and now it's become kind of a trend in YouTube, is right after you finish the video topic, you have this beat where the music picks up and you just get this like really pretty splash screen that shows the title of the video that you just watched.
Oh, yeah.
Before going into the end stuff. And I'm wondering, I was thinking this because he just made that Bruno Mars video, and I was just thinking, that's interesting, because I'm starting to notice that happens a lot.
I think it's been done before him. Granted, I don't know on YouTube. I couldn't like go back and prove it, but I feel like I've seen things like that before. Before the Nerd
But he
Writer.
always like, because his video titles always start with like the question, and then basically at the end he's visually telling you, you now know the answer to this, and I think that it's really cool. It makes you feel like, oh, like it makes that like click feel a lot more solid right before he goes. And yeah, he totally has a team. Anybody who has like 1 million subscribers like him has at least has a video editor or something, because the production schedule he has is impossible otherwise.
Yeah, unless he's just not a sleeping person. Also, his savant knowledge of everything seems to be suspicious as well. Like, how could you possibly have so much knowledge? I mean, maybe he's just a brilliant guy, but oh my God, if he's writing with a team, I wish they'd just be more open about it. Maybe it is somewhere in their credits, and I just haven't done enough research to look into it. On that note, you mentioned kind of getting that click feeling at the end. And we could probably do the opposite of this topic we're doing now. The first 10 seconds, we could probably do the last 10 seconds as well in another section. But John Oliver also does something similar in that, like, almost all of John Oliver's videos end with some sort of like grand stunt or like some sort of payoff for the audience, like a skit with a celebrity or a song and dance. I feel like that's part of that's audience retention, but part of it's also, if you give people something like to grab onto towards the end of your content, if you give them value towards the tail end of something, then they're gonna like feel more compelled to share, or at least more compelled to stay around the next time to see what it is you're gonna do at the end. Like, I'm always curious when I watch John Oliver, what are they gonna do this time? So that's,
yeah, I think that is successful for both reasons. And if you have some sort of expectation like that in your content, that does help. And doing something big and crazy like what John Oliver does on Last Week Tonight does make for a good internet fodder. Hence why he shows up as trending on Facebook every single Monday.
Yeah. So to go back to our 10 seconds discussion here, I think we've had a really good tangent, though. I hope people got value out of that tangent. I don't think it was like so off topic that it was valueless. To go back to our topic, though, I have just kind of written down some things that I think people should be considering when they're making the first 10 seconds of their video, which some of it we've already hit on. And then I also have just some examples of people who do things like this well. So, number one, Tristan and I already said it. Carefully consider what it is you want to portray. Are you looking for pure audience retention? Are you trying to draw people in? Are you trying to establish your credibility? Think about that while you're writing those first 10 seconds, and spend a little extra time. Don't just keep on writing. Spend a little extra time to think about, okay, have I accomplished my goal with this first block of text? Second thing is, whatever you choose to do, get on with it, in the words of Monty Python. So if you the last thing you want to do is have that Google Hangouts on air logo with a black screen for the first 20 seconds of a video. Edit, be a professional. I think everyone who listens to this podcast knows better. Third, as Tristan mentioned, tease what's coming. So give people something to latch onto, introduce a mystery, as Tristan so perfectly said. And then four, consider putting some sort of a bumper or branding. So we mentioned the Nerd Writer. He brands very clearly in the first half, but even if you're not doing something with negative space like he is, putting a logo, putting your face, if your face is the kind of the thing that people come to the channel for, whatever it is, consider putting that at the beginning so that people don't forget where they are and why they come back, perhaps. Some examples. I just wrote down some of my favorite examples when I was thinking about this topic. Who came into my brain? All right, we mentioned the Nerd Writer. We also mentioned Vsauce. He comes up a lot. I think he's very talented at this sort of thing. One example I have of his that really caught my eye is at the beginning of one of his videos, he just simply filmed himself like breaking down a can backwards. So he filmed himself crushing an aluminum can, and for his introduction to his video, he played that video backwards, and it was just such a strange, striking image that it caught your attention. I've also seen another one of the Vsauces like pretend to cut his tongue with a knife at the end of a video. I know that sounds really wild, but I saw that, or at least it might have been like an electric razor or something really, really weird. But I tell you what, I did not click out of the video when I saw that. Another example, my second of three examples, is Roberto Blake, who we know is my preferred YouTube guru in this sphere, and he always does just like little one-liners. It's nothing complicated like we just talked about with Vsauce or with Nerd Writer. It's just like, I'm going to give you a one-liner, and then he jumps into the content of his video. So it's just a more basic way to grab attention. And then my third and last example is to have things moving in the screen. So another channel we always talk about, Kritzgesucht. When a Kritzgesucht video starts, there's not one static image, there's not one static person, there's not even like one thing moving. There's usually like 15 different, like some of their most brilliantly designed scenes are at the very beginning. And I can't help but assume that that is intentional, that if they bring you in with a bunch of moving stuff all at once, you're going to be drawn straight in. Those are my examples of things of channels and places I think are doing awesome jobs with the first 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think that you have some good advice here, and that is watch what successful channels are doing in their first 10 seconds. Be aware of that and pay more attention to the first 10 seconds of your own content. And I think if you follow those two rules of thumb, you'll be able to make a significant increase in your retention rates.
Did we miss anything? Write us at YT United Podcast on Twitter, ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com. We are not YouTube experts. We're just guys trying to get by on the platform. So the advice we give comes with many, many grains of salt, but also comes with an authenticity you're not going to get anywhere else. So let us know what you think. Give us some tips. We're trying to learn here. Send it to ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com. Want to talk about distribution strategy, Tristan?
Sure thing. It's the fun one.
Woo! Should I intro the topic, or would you like to intro the topic?
I can do it. So, the internet's a weird place.
What?
Everybody is fighting for attention, shouting at the top of their lungs, and when you make a video, how do you successfully tell the world about it? This is something that I think a lot of people and a lot of money has been spent trying to figure out. We're going to try to give you some advice as to how we distribute videos, how we cycle it around, and what we can hopefully glean as to what works and what doesn't, as far as, making that baby new video get as much eyeballs on it as possible in that crucial early period.
I think the most important question we have to ask first is, when it comes to distribution of a new piece of internet content, specifically in this case, YouTube videos, the question is to blast or not to blast. That is, do you create a link and send it everywhere, to your grandma, to your friends, to random websites, or specifically, to a bunch of subreddits, or do you kind of sit back and let your loyal subscribers rack up watch time and just kind of let YouTube do its thing? So maybe we could address that question first. What do you think, Tristan? Blast or no blast?
I think you blast. One of the first things that you do when you make a YouTube video and it comes out, you have a crucial small amount of time to get it out to as many people as possible, including your own audience. Because of how YouTube works with its subscription page not being the main page and everything like that, and all of the different methods that people can get in touch with you, you want to make sure that as many people who are receptive to your content already get it, and that it gets out to as many people as you can. Though you also get into some murky territory with this. This is something that we're going to have to talk about and split the hairs on.
Mm-hmm. So if, let's go with an extreme example. All right. If you have a new video out and someone comes to you from an adult content website and they say, Tristan, I've got this new adult video that I'm also producing right now and publishing. I'll put your video in the link, or I'll link your video in the description of my adult content. So if it gets 10 million views, maybe 100 or 1,000 of my adult content viewers will finish up and click on your video after watching this one. Would you like that free? Would you like that free publicity, Tristan? Would you appreciate that? Would you want all those people?
That's just crass.
Okay, sorry, that's a crazy example, but like basically what I'm saying is, would you want someone to link to your content on unrelated content? So forget the adult video thing, but like anything that's totally unrelated to what your content is. Would you want someone promoting your content through that avenue?
Not completely unrelated, like the case that you gave would not be conducive, because what would happen is, yeah, you might get some click through, but you'd get very low retention. You want to make sure that your stuff is getting distributed to people who will be receptive to the type of content that you're making. So the most reason why you would do, like, for example, getting things out on social media is because you already have your audience in contact with you on social media. So that's one way they can make sure they know that you have a new video out. When it comes to hustling it to other people, like blogs and such like that, you want to make sure they're related blogs so that they'll even post it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you want to make sure that the source that they're clicking on is going to be people who are more likely than not anyway to watch all the way through.
Okay, yes. So my crazy extreme example was just to say exactly what Tristan just said, and that is, you at least want to get in the ballpark when it comes to sharing your content with people that are going to be interested, because, yeah, you can really, if you send the wrong signals to YouTube, let's say you only get 20 views on your video, and all of them are people who aren't interested because you've shared it somewhere random, and none of them watched, then you're hurting your video even though you're giving it views. You're hurting it in medium and long term. So I think that's a good lesson. But generally speaking, if you can get it towards someone who's at least interested roughly, then that's a good thing. What about blogs, Tristan? Have you ever shared your content with blogs and tried to get external traffic from maybe a bigger website, but people who maybe are watching your video embedded in and not actually on the YouTube platform?
Never successfully. I've sent it to people, but I've never had it posted.
Same
but
here.
It is a good place to go to, actually, because blogs, even if it is embedded, whatever, but it is a way to get an audience. It's the same reason a collaboration works.
Yeah.
You're linking to another person's work, and if you have the right cross section of audiences, it'll be really successful. And websites have giant readerships, and if someone chooses to highlight your work on there, then that can be life-changing.
Especially if you're getting a lot of minutes watched from history.com or something, right? Where you, Tristan, have a history channel. You get traffic from a place called history.com, maybe a website like history.com, which has credibility and authority with Google.
It is the History Channel.
It is the History Channel. So, all those people going for Pawn Stars will also be coming. But anyway, yeah, you if you're getting traffic from, like my example earlier, right, that's not going to provide you with any extra authority. It's not going to provide you with any extra search results, and the minutes watched will probably be low. But if you're getting it from a credible source and a website that Google knows, then that's a really, really, really powerful distribution strategy. And I read after Wendover Productions, who now has, I don't know how many subscribers, hundreds of thousands, when he hit 10,000, he made a post on Reddit talking about getting targeted blogs to share your content. So making your content with a blog in mind, even. So hoping that they share it. I think Patrick from Name Explain, if you hear this, comment on the video and tell us about it. But I think he also said that like when he made his video about ponies and the name of ponies and the different like names for different types of horses and pony breeds, that he got like linked on some sort of horse website. And I don't know, that he could tell us if that led to any additional traffic, not just directly from the website, but maybe afterwards through the algorithm. I think that, granted, you and I both are people who haven't had this experience yet, at least not that I'm aware of. So it's a little bit tough. If anybody has this experience and can tell us in the comments about it, or, you know, at YT United Podcast on Twitter, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is not something that I have a terrible amount of success and experience with. I've tried a few things. I've been interviewed on the radio, and I've been profiled in the school news website, and neither of those led to giant subscriber growth, but you never know. So one of the things that I've been experimenting with, and this will happen more in future videos than ones I've done now, is making a press release along with your video to send out to potential blogs that might pick it up and run with it.
Good. What about Facebook? You sending it off to grandma? You posting it publicly on your timeline? How are you sharing videos on that platform?
Well, Facebook has a native video platform that I really recommend you put on, because Facebook is a good, not a great platform, but it's still an important platform that promotes its own video player more than YouTube itself. So you might as well upload it to the Facebook video format so that it gets out to more places. Facebook, putting things up on Facebook makes it easier for your friends, your followers, your subscribers to share it with their friends. And of course, you know, put it out for your own things, because no one wants to see you succeed more than your friends.
Yeah.
And so
I guess you have to distinguish between just publicly posting to like your Facebook timeline with your friends, as you describe, which I think probably is, you know, a good thing. I don't know if it's gonna like make or break a channel, but at the beginning, sure, why not? And then the other thing is, you know, uploading natively to Facebook, which I know you and I have talked about quite a bit. And I think I wish Facebook. We'll talk about this another time, but I have not had any luck like uploading natively to Facebook. I've had no luck uploading just, you know, or just sharing YouTube links as well, which I think we both know doesn't work on the Facebook platform. But I question Facebook's I question Facebook's ability as a distributor for my content.
yeah, I mean, you are giving up on the monetariness of it in favor of brand building.
Yeah.
But what it does is it means if you have a Facebook page with, you know, subscribers who are liking your Facebook page, when you release a video, it shows up in their timeline. So that's another way for them to find a way to your content, because YouTube isn't guaranteed to show you everything you're subscribed to anymore. But also it gives them a easy way to share it with their friends, and that gives it a platform that at least allows you to click through and see where the content's coming from. So it has the chance of helping with subscribers. And I just have my analytics open now with my external sources. Mm-hmm. And Facebook has accounted since I, you know, in my channel's history, it has accounted. It's the third most popular source of external traffic. Mm-hmm. Has produced over 6,000 minutes of watch time, which is about 10% of all external traffic. Mm-hmm. So like,
that's something.
It's not pointless. And of course, as we all know, the game of YouTube is very much just like trying to make as many small things move towards your channel as possible. So
true.
Every little thing helps.
I wouldn't mind building up a following on Facebook. Like I have no problem having a following on that platform. I don't know if there's any way at this point to connect a Facebook following with a YouTube following in a direct way. Like I think at this point, Facebook is about Facebook. If you're uploading videos there, other than just, you know, sharing with family, if you're using a public page, then your goal should be Facebook oriented, which is almost why I think I would buy a product. And you guys can write us if this product exists or if anything like this might exist for something like Premiere Pro or Adobe After Effects. But the typical Facebook video, the ubiquity of Facebook videos is that it's a video with text that flies in every 5 seconds or something, especially the 2 or 3 minute news clips where they've got either subtitles or they've got, text like this happened in Idaho, and they show a truck, and then the next image is of a crab, and this crab is really cute. And it's all just giant impact font text. If there was a way to take your subtitle file like you do with YouTube and give it your subtitle file and it kind of just times up the captions for you, if there was a way to do that for like a Facebook video, like in a video editing thing where I could create a separate MP4 file for the video that I've created just with the YouTube impact text and then up that natively to Facebook, that'd be amazing. I assume something like that exists for like subtitles. I just don't know how to do it. But Facebook, sorry, we're kind of going off on a tangent, or at least I am. Facebook is for Facebook at this point, I think. And of course, maybe sending out an iMessenger to like friends and family who are interested when you've uploaded a video could be a legitimate part of your distribution strategy. But it's just one of those things that's way up in the air. And if there's anyone who knows a lot about using Facebook and creating that community, connecting it with YouTube, we'd love to interview on this show.
Yeah, the way Facebook works is they've done a lot of stuff to keep things more proprietary. And so the Facebook to YouTube link traffic is not what it used to be. But it's definitely not something you should hang your entire distribution strategy on. But it's definitely not something that you should not be on at all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of YouTube and kind of getting in that isolated platform, YouTube also obviously values having people come on the platform, stay on the platform. So part of a distribution strategy beyond external links is, of course, optimizing, which we've already spent some time talking about on this exact episode, optimizing your YouTube videos to be distributed within YouTube itself. And I can tell you that by combining a couple times external traffic in the form of specifically Reddit, which we're going to talk about in a moment when we do our Q&A, by combining external traffic from Reddit with minutes watched, so getting a lot of traffic from Reddit, leading to a lot of watch time, then it kind of creates acceleration. Then I get lots of native distribution on YouTube, recommended, homepage, featured, browse features. So these things snowball together. And beyond that, once you've uploaded a video and you're getting distribution that way, the other way, which we already spoke about, is search. So that is in and of itself one of the most powerful distribution strategies, and beyond all the external things we're talking about now, should never, never, never be underestimated. But I think our audience already knows that.
Yeah. I mean, things will change once you get your YouTube community stuff going, and whenever that starts to become a major part of the YouTube platform.
Yeah.
I hope that'll happen sometime in 2017, because it looks like a really promising format that could really help with keeping your relationship with your audience a lot better.
Tristan,
I also should mention, when you're in
please.
YouTube, that one way to make more inroads towards your channel is to be a good commenter. I don't mean promoting your stuff, but there is the long advice that you should be following and watching videos of other people who are in a similar area to what you're doing. And you should be making comments, insightful comments, because if you have all of your branding, like all of your graphics and stuff, all in a really good place, having a good comment will lead a lot of people, especially on like popular videos, to check out your channel. And that's something that you should definitely have in mind.
Tristan, do you have any I'm putting you on the spot here. Do you have any random anecdotes of some distribution strategy that you took of all the things we've been talking about? It's been all mostly theoretical. Do you have any concrete example of a time when you shared a video in a very specific place, you distributed it in the right way, and that paid back in dividends for you on your channel?
The closest thing I can think of was when I reached out to the creators of The Great War, which is this World War I centenary project.
It's a great example. This is a great example. Yeah, go on. And
I reached out to them and I just asked, what did like I showed them my channel, and he was like, "This is really good." And then I just asked, like, what would it take for you to, like, put it in your social media or something? And he said, you need, if you made a video about World War One, I would do it. And so I did. I put together a World War One video specifically for the Great War. And when I sent it to him, he put it out on his Facebook page. And that was probably my first big spike of traffic I ever got on my channel. I think that's what pushed me over into like the 1 or 2 or 300 subscriber territory.
Hell yeah. That's a great example. I have something similar. There's a YouTuber, Rubas is his name. Really nice guy. He uploads every week something, 2 to 6 minutes usually about German culture, life in Germany, which super niche, but for someone like me who actually does live in Germany, super valuable. And he happened to find my Berlin video and share it. Another great distribution. So we both mentioned like getting other influencers involved and invested in you and sharing your content is super useful.
Yep.
100%.
Actually, I know that Alternate History Hub, Cody, he's subscribed to Step Back. And anytime he likes one of my videos, I get a huge spike in traffic because he actually has like on his channel page the like liked videos. And so I end up on the Alternate History Hub channel page for a few days until he likes enough videos that I get off the front page.
That's funny. How often has that happened for you?
Oh, a handful of times. Anytime he likes one of my videos, which is like, he doesn't like every video, but I definitely know when he does it.
I wish, I want someone to like my videos. Granted, I don't actually check on like channels to see if that's happening, but
well, it happens actually. Another thing is I get a lot of traffic from your channel too, probably for a similar purpose.
probably. I do have that on my channel now. I decided to go ahead and go with it a few months ago. I decided like obviously not everything that I watch I like, but every time I watch a video that I like and that I want to hit the like button on, and I think my audience would enjoy this as well, I go ahead and do that publicly. I think that's fun. It's nice. So, anything else to say on this topic? Should we move into the Q&A, because there's one distribution platform that we have not addressed that I think would be good to talk about, and it comes into our Q&A.
All right, let's do it.
We have our good friend Soliloquy has written us through the Gmail, the ycunitedpodcast@gmail.com. He says, "Hello again, Will and Tristan. I don't know if you want a second thought from me, but something JT said," so he's referring to our interview with JT from Second Thought, in the last podcast stuck out to me. He commented that for his video that went viral, he had been sharing it on Reddit, but forgot to post it to our videos, the big one. This implies that he usually, or at least sometimes, would post his own video there. I personally haven't posted my own videos to our videos, and have actually rarely posted my own videos anywhere on Reddit. I wouldn't say I have influencer status on Reddit at all. However, my question: do you post your own content to Reddit, and do you think we as creators should be posting our content there? Best wishes. Tristan?
Soliloquy. Okay. I've thought about this way more than I probably should have, because unlike you, unlike Patrick, unlike Soliloquy, I don't get any love from Reddit, and I've been trying to figure it out forever. And the main reason, I think, is just because of the culture of Reddit and some of the stuff. But long story short, they have some rules about this, and this is something that you should keep in mind when you talk about Reddit, because Reddit's a very harsh place rules wise, actually, if you are trying to promote stuff. And their whole idea is that their rule is you want to be a Redditor with a YouTube account, not a YouTuber with a Reddit account. And that's they have some mechanisms like shadow banning mechanisms, which is where none of your posts will ever be seen. They'll just instantly get put in a spam folder. And this usually comes if like a certain percentage of the links that you post come too often from a single source. So, which sounds like it makes no sense, because it doesn't. There's some times where, like, if you are a person who just likes to share YouTube videos on Reddit, even if they're not yours, they can think that you're a spammer because too many of your links come from YouTube.
Yeah.
I hope that Reddit's a little smarter than that when coming from channels, but I don't know. But I do know that they really don't like self-promoters on YouTube. Like, they really don't like them. And when we got this email from Soliloquy, I was actually surprised that JT got away with doing that.
Mm. I think it depends on where you're posting. For example, our curious videos, like the educational videos subreddit, like I've talked to the mod, he's not worried about it. He wants the content on the subreddit, and so he's willing to have it there. I think the smaller the subreddit, and if you actually communicate with the mods, it can be okay. It's the bigger subreddits where things get really dicey. So our videos is the one he mentioned. We'll come back to our videos because it's so hard to get onto that platform, especially if you're doing anything remotely political, because they have the ban there. But let's take another example, our history, where I actually had a buddy post my video about Andrew Jackson on our history, and it was upvoted like crazy. It hit number 1 on the subreddit. It started off at like number 12, and it like gradually increased and got to number 1. And I was watching the real time analytics and watching the upvotes and getting a couple comments, and then boom, the mods deleted it because of some obscure rule of like no personal vlogs. Well, I guess it's not that obscure. It's there in the rules, but nonetheless, it's something that the community was clearly enjoying, gone. So I think this is just a syndrome of the bigger subreddits. I really do. I think our videos, our history, our politics, I don't think they allow personal vlogs there either, but these bigger subreddits are much more strict, and the mods there are probably used to dealing with much more BS and just have much more happy trigger fingers when it comes to banning and deleting. I think the best strategy with Reddit, if I'm just talking from my own experience, because I've tested the boundaries with Reddit. I've posted my own content. I still do post my own content at times. Is that if you're posting your own content, you should only do it in hyper-targeted, specific subreddits with mod permission.
Yeah, they really, when it comes to things like our videos and such, like keep in mind, like you have to keep in mind that Reddit's not like this monolithic platform, that it is a series of small websites or communities called subreddits that each can have their own set of rules.
Yeah.
And so you want to be in touch with these communities and the people who run them, instead of thinking of Reddit as just like a place that you dump something on, and like subreddit as just like a categorization method or something.
Which I'm glad you cleared up, because obviously you and I know that, but I've seen discussions on places like YouTube Talk of like people like, I hate Reddit. Why can't I just dump my links there? So there are hordes of people. In a way, I understand the animosity Reddit has towards self-promoters, because I've seen people complaining that they can't just dump their links. Like, I made a video of me playing Minecraft. Why can't I dump that on our gaming? Like, of course, those are the reasons that Reddit has these strict self-promotion rules, is because people do sometimes just treat it like a link dumping place. But I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, they are separate communities, and I think the bigger the community gets, the more careful you have to be. Whereas our videos, I don't even bother. I don't touch our videos, because I just know if I post my own stuff, it's gonna get deleted. I'm gonna get banned. I'm just not gonna do it. I think we need to talk about a gray area though, Tristan. I think everyone knows. I think this is true with any sort of promotion. Self promotion can be good if you're careful about it. Here's the gray area: link trading. So you and I did this when we were really small, right? On our curious videos, we posted each other's videos so as not to like self promote, right? I'm not self promoting. I'm promoting someone else, right? What about that angle? Kind of getting someone else to share your content for you.
I think this is the reason why they have the amount from a certain traffic source type of thing.
For sure.
Because this comes up a lot because my wife shares my videos on Reddit often, and it's starting to look like her channel looks more like it's me than my Reddit account does.
Like I try to comment. I don't try to. I do, because I'm part of other Reddit communities, like language learning, one of my hobbies. And so I'm on the language learning subreddit, and I'm always commenting. I always wonder, does that count as or is it really only like the only thing they look at is what links are you sharing, and not, are you participating in Reddit overall? That's another question that I don't have answered even after all this time.
It's your posts.
Yeah.
I've actually talked to some Reddit mods about this stuff, and so I've gotten a little bit of information about it. And yeah, it's based on when a mod can look at your account and find what percentage of the posts that you make are links to a certain website, and they can base it based on that. I think that something like, if more than like 10% of what you post is from one website, it raises some red flags.
Okay.
And I still think YouTube should be an exception on that because YouTube is YouTube, but whatever.
Yeah.
There's another thing that you should
Tristan?
keep in mind, and this is what you can do that's actionable with Reddit, and that is when you can set up things like IFTTT to actually keep track of when your videos are posted on Reddit. And if they're posted on a Reddit that you don't follow, you'll have the link and you should at least go through and, upvote and comment saying, I'll answer any questions, things like that.
Okay. Another thing to consider is Reddit just doesn't like the idea of gaming their system at all. And so even like right now, I've seen YouTubers that have posted annotations in their video, like, hey, share this on Reddit. Or specifically share this on our videos, right? And they've been like told by the Reddit mods, like, don't, like, no, that's against the rules. You can't take down your video, like, which is ridiculous, but they don't like any sort of gamesmanship. However, if you fly under the radar, I've seen people, like, I've seen bigger YouTubers, people who get love from, like, anytime they post a video, they're at the top of our videos. I know for a fact that there's some link trading going on in even like the Reddit celebrities. The ones where you think if they share a video, or I'm sorry, if they post a video that one of their fans will absolutely share it on our videos, because they're always, it seems that way because they're always at the top of our videos when they post. Not necessarily the case. I've seen the link trading going on even with the bigger YouTubers. So whether like there is some gamesmanship going on in the Reddit. Like, I wish I could give the example, but I don't want to be seen as calling anyone out because I think it's legitimate to link share and to get your content out there. But I do know that it's going on. And so I think that a certain level of gamesmanship in Reddit is happening. And the real question is, does Reddit like your content enough to overlook it, or can you fly under the radar? Another perfect example of this, just like as a general thing, is the Reddit posts that start off with like, my uncle wrote this song and I think everyone will really like it, so listen to it. And those kind of posts, those sappy, like, my cousin, my brother, my friend did this, obviously are promotional posts and obviously are not just like spontaneous in a vacuum. Oh, my brother made it, but he definitely did not ask me to post this on Reddit. Obviously there's a conspiracy there to get the content there on Reddit, and it's happening, and it's just something that you kind of have to work with and figure out how to make it work best for you. But the first thing, of course, the hurdle to come over, this is all secondary to, is this something that's going to get upvoted? Is this something that Redditors in general are going to like? Basically, if Redditors like it, it'll get upvoted, it'll get up to the top. And the only real concern you have is the mods themselves getting, like, blocking or taking things down. Like I gave my example, the Jackson video, the community was liking it, but the mod just is like, no personal blogs. So yeah, Reddit is a beast. So if I had to give actionable advice to the listener, to our union, our YouTubers United Union, my advice would be, go ahead and share your own content with mod permission on small subreddits. If you're talking about bigger subreddits, consider doing link sharing, or just kind of not going there in for the sake of not getting yourself banned. I have been shared on the bigger subreddits by random people who I do not know. So it does happen if your video is interesting enough. But if you're going to the bigger subreddits, I generally speaking, I would just recommend against self-promotion on the bigger subreddits. It's just playing with fire. And in my experience, it always ends in failure. Like the Reddit mods on the bigger subreddits are very, very precise and very, like, well, not precise, actually the opposite. They're very blanket when it comes to handing out deletions and bans. So don't get yourself banned. Like, go ahead and just stick with the smaller subreddits and do link sharing and try to keep your Reddit account as diverse as you possibly can. Because in the end, yeah, I participate in Reddit communities. I like Reddit, so I understand their need and their desire to protect their communities from spamming.
Yeah, I think that the only other thing I should add to that is that we should come back to this topic a little bit later as well, because I've been trying to reason out what kind of content is Reddit friendly, and I think that that's something that we could talk about later. Like, what is it that the example we were given today was JT with oh gosh, what's his channel name again?
Second Thought. And the video that went viral, I think specifically, I don't know if it made it onto our videos. I think he said it did in our interview with him. I don't remember if that was a subreddit or if it was a different one, but it was this video about NASA's budget. Like, if NASA had the military budget, what could they do? And that, like space, science, like anything remotely like that is good for Reddit. So it makes perfect sense that his video got big on the site.
Yeah, I think though with the success of your Berlin video and that and Wendover Productions, that there's some je ne sais quoi that brings out the Redditors, and I've been reasoning out what that is, and I think that if we come back to some another time, I might have some better answers.
I can tell you one thing right now, and we certainly can come back to it, but I can tell you that anything that communicates directly to Redditors, like Meta, is going to get at least the attention of Reddit. Might not be positive, but it'll get it. And that there was no accident that, what was that, 5 years ago now, CGP Grey made a video explaining Reddit. Nobody who watched that video was unaware of what Reddit was. Everyone who watched that video was a Redditor thinking about how cool it is that they're part of the community that's now being covered by CGP Grey. There's a video creator that's really popular on our videos, Casually Explained. He is like almost like a parody of CGP Grey, and it's basically a explainer video about like being kind of a pathetic white guy, how to get a date, and then it's like bad advice on how to get a date. And I think one of the reasons it's popular on Reddit is because people see themselves in that content, right? Oh, I'm a guy who can't get a date. Like, this is funny. So Redditors like to see themselves as scientists. They upload science videos. So I think that is one absolute surefire, not surefire, but it's a really good strategy with Reddit is to focus it on them, make it about them, make it feel like this content is about me.
Yes, and there's been some surveys that show that Reddit does have a, not entirely, but does have a demographic that is really, really present there.
Yeah.
And if you can make videos that speak to that demographic, that you're in for a lot of success.
Yeah. I mean, I'm part of that demographic. At least I'd like to think I am, because I'd like to feel like I'm part of shaping the community of Reddit. It's just like in America right now. The people that I like are not running the country, but I still am American because I want to be part of the American community. Same thing with Reddit. When I first got on, it was young, liberal, it was a lot of tech savvy people, which I'm not. But the point is it was kind of like it was one way, and now as it's gotten bigger, it's definitely changed. And in the last year or so, it really has gotten interesting in terms of what I guess you call ideological diversity. Is that the nice way to put it? So there is a changing demographic on Reddit. There's definitely a certain number of things, especially when it comes to women. We'll just put it out there, where Reddit becomes very interesting very fast if you're not careful. And I do think you're right that there is a very, very specific demographic you can keep in mind. But that is, of course, part of the art of content creation in the first place. If we had one of our YouTube gurus, whichever one we prefer, on, they would, of course, tell you, who is your content for? And if you're looking to get on Reddit, then you need to make your content for Redditors. So
yeah, and if your content is for Redditors already, you are going to be in a good place. Now, we dance around the side that this is like, right-wing white dudes, but
right, we're dancing around it, but Reddit is more diverse. Like, Reddit is one of the most trafficked websites in the world. I don't know what the ranking is, but it's up there. There's a bunch of people on Reddit who are not on R the Donald. In fact, the vast majority of people are not on R the Donald, or even the remote, like that interested in the political discussions that go on in the site anyway. There's a lot of people on Reddit, so there are pockets of different communities. There's lots of different things going on there. But you're right, there is like an overarching hive mind that kind of drives the Reddit appearance. I would say there's a war going on with Reddit, honestly, at the moment, at least in political terms, about what's going on in their community.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to follow, but just know that there's stuff going on in Reddit that, if your content does get on, sometimes you might have to ride the fury.
I also, just as a final note, I will say that when it comes to Reddit, there are content creators that we focus on who are always at the top. Like CGP Grey, if he could fart and upload a 3-second video of his flatulation, and it would get upvoted to the top of our videos, guaranteed. In fact, I think he did upload something on one of his second channels that was just like garbage about the iPhone that got straight to the top of our videos. So there are people who have like God status on the subreddits that whatever, like they can post it, they're gonna get there. Wendover is another one that's like, we could talk a little bit about whether he's got God status on our videos, but he's definitely there, casually explained, grade A under A if he'd ever post anything anymore. These people are gonna, we're focusing on them because they are always at the top of our videos, but there are people like me who don't, like, everything I post does not go to our videos, but I have had at least limited success there. We were talking earlier about the Nerd Writer. He's a vastly successful channel. Everything he makes does not go to the top of our videos. Not in any way, shape, or form. Some of his videos do, but not all. However, one channel very similar to him, Captain Christian, who also does, like, you know, why Bugs Bunny is profound or whatever kind of videos, explainer, essayist, whatever you want to call them. If he posts it, it's at the top of our videos. So I think in our future discussion, we should try to figure out what is, like, why Captain Christian and not Nerd Writer every time they post something. Why CGB Cray and not Soliloquy, who I think has content that is amazing and should be on our videos. So we could maybe more specifically talk about what it is with you, with me. What is it that Reddit really does want? That is a great topic to talk about in the future, where we can expand on this even more.
I smell an article, actually. I feel like I'm writing an article about this in the future. Anyways, we need to wrap up the show because this is probably going to be the longest show in our history. I just want to thank you guys all for coming out. And if you have some compliments, complaints, advice, death threats for Will, not for me, you can send them to y2unitedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to hear more episodes, you can either find us on iTunes, where we would really like if you left us a review. That really helps us. That's the, you know, the podcast version of ranking, you know, is how well you're reviewed. But you can also get in touch with us at youtubersunited.com, where you can, you know, find the podcast, or we're on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, you know the drill. And of course, what else should we say? I guess
goodbye.
We're on Twitter and Facebook.
I thought you were.
And have a good one.
Bye, everybody. Hell yeah. That's a great example. I have something similar. There's a YouTuber whose name is evading me now. I like his content a lot, despite the fact that I forgot what his channel is called. He makes videos about Germany, and basically only Germany. What is this? Hold on. Everyone in the audience is going to wait for me to open up this YouTube page and find this name. It's like Ross something. Oh, it's going to kill me. We need to put in, like, some elevator music at this point. Damn it. Rubas. Rubas is his name.
There we go.
Rubas is... Oh, my God. Okay. Tristan, sorry. Pause for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
All right.